Gregory Pardlo. Now, Greg has a poem in the Best American Poetry of 2010 reflecting the publication, I believe, in American Poetry Review. The Philadelphia-born Pardlo divides his time between Washington and New York City. He teaches at George Washington University and is an associate editor of Callaloo and privy to all the secrets of the editorial offices of Callaloo. And here he is, not only to read poems, but to divulge secrets about Callaloo.
So Jason said I was showing off by reading off of the iPad. It's just more convenient. That's one of the secrets, yeah. Thank you, Steve Jobs. Okay, so a lot of academics in the house. This is a course description. Shades of green, envy and enmity in the American cultural imaginary. Images of the stud and the buck have an amorously crafted resonance burnished by cultural anxieties, an addict's logic toward the habit they place in the mind and the mysteries we lay at their feet. This course will begin by focusing on models represented in the 1994 Charles Russell film, The Mask, and Ang Lee's 2003, The Hulk. The mojo and the genetic regression, the hypersexuality and the rage. These qualities are thrust and airbrushed onto the Bacchic body of the other as we fantasize our repression of them in ourselves, the unquiet threat of psychosomatic greening, a silk garret, an onanistic envy of the other's capacity for release, a monumental iconography of the hermetical black box of the brain. While we might be tempted to reduce these types to the packed dichotomies of comedy and tragedy, this course will examine the ways in which there is but one mask, a Janus-faced cleavage of thou art and thus am I, our goat-sung desires adrift in the wilderness, our telltale passions pulsing beneath the tulips and gladiolas in a mildewed hatbox, the act of masking triumphal and deadly, trembling the bulb on its stem. I never did let me teach that. So slave narratives always began with the same three words, I was born. And they're, in the titles, they have these long, drawn-out titles that somewhere say, written by himself, as if it needs to be proven, needs to be demonstrated that the person writing it is actually the one who experienced the account, what is being accounted. Written by himself. I was born in minutes in a roadside kitchen, a skillet whispering my name. I was born to rainwater and lie. I was born across the river where I was borrowed with clothespins, a harrow tooth, broadside sewn in my shoes. I return, though it please you, through no fault of my own, pockets filled with coffee grounds and eggshells. I was born still and superstitious. I bore an unexpected burden. I gave birth, I gave blessing, I gave rise to suspicion. I was born abandoned outdoors in the heat-shaped air, air drifting like spirits in old windows. I was born a fraction and a cipher and a ledger entry. I was an index of first lines when I was born. I was born waist-deep, stubborn in the water, crying, ain't I a woman and a brother? I was born to this hall of mirrors, this horror story. I was born with a prologue of references, pursued by mosquitoes and thieves. I was born passing off the problem of the 20th century. I was born. I read minds before I could read fishes and loaves. I walked a piece of the way alone before I was born. I read that with my students once, and one of my students said, "Do you really feel like a slave?" I said, "Wow." So this is, the last poem is taken from a series called Marginalia, in which I'm sort of riffing on Kierkegaard's Fear and Trembling, where Kierkegaard is riffing on the Abraham and Isaac story. This is Problema 4. At 13, I asked my father for a tattoo. I might as well have asked for a bar mitzvah. He said I had no right to alter the body he gave me. Aping what little of Marx I learned from the sisters down the street who wore torn black stockings with Doc Martens, I said I was a man because I could claim my body and the value of its labor. This meant I could adorn it or dispose of it as I chose. Tattoos, my father said, are like children. Have one, you'll want another. I knew there was a connection between the decorated body and reproduction. This was why I wanted a tattoo. Yet, I reasoned, not in so many words, his analogy only held in the case of possession, i.e., I possess my body, but cannot possess my children. His laughter was my first lesson in the human Ponzi scheme of paternalism, the self-electing indenture to the promise of material inheritance, men claiming a hollow authority because, simply, their fathers had claimed a hollow authority. Knowing I had little idea as to what my proposed tattoo might resemble, my father sent me to my room to sketch it using the pastels he had given me for Christmas. Based on his critique, he said, he would consider my request. But he had already taken the shine from my swagger. How can I beautify what I do not possess and call it anything but graffiti? Chris Rock says my first job is to keep my daughter off the pole. Although I have expended great energy arguing the autonomy of strippers, I have to agree with him. As a father myself, I now see every mutinous claim of independence as the first steps toward my sweet peas falling in with a bad crowd. Richard Pryor says we are bound to fuck up our kids one way or another. My father would split the difference. I made you, he'd say. I can unmake you and make another one just like you.
Thank you, Greg. Our next reader is Julie Sheehan. Julie is the poetry editor of Southampton Review, and she teaches at Stony Brook. She won a Whiting Award and has written several books, including Bar Book, which is an extraordinary book of poems because each poem is related to a specific cocktail. And it's a wonderful conceit for a book. And I'm fond of arguing that poems engage in dialogue with other poems. And Julie had a poem in the 2005 Best American Poetry called Hate Poem, which I hope she will read. And 4 years later, a poet named Martha Solano had a poem chosen for the 2009 edition that was inspired by Julie's poem, and it was called Love, and it was a poem that appropriated the same conceit. And it's a really interesting conceit, and I won't rob you of the pleasure of hearing it for yourself. Rather, I will just introduce Julie Sheehan.
In short, I'm conceited. Yeah. No, I'll read something from Bar Book. I notice a lot of list poems in West American poetry, and hate poem is a list poem, or at least the selections tonight. So I thought I would read a poem of mine that's not a list poem. This is The Blue Moon, which is a cocktail. This poem is addressed to the blue moon in the voice of a mother. I'll just read it. Blue Moon. Nightly you freeze my child from sleep, afraid of moonshot light, rightly feared, I say. That is no way to behave. You marble stare, you cold bedspread, you crystal wave. You ought to be ashamed, but see, you settle instead. The mother you are not even a she, and possibly even you regret the misattribution, that lunar tune. Midas in reverse, you turn tabletop and run. Silver madness all over the room, a mock, chilled, too eerie to be drunk. From her crib she fingers your bad aim until I enter, her more real mother, mouthing theories to return each foreign object to its name. This is your lamp, your quilt. This is paper, just paper. Words fly the slant white rhyme her face makes with mine. I allied to shadow, an unlettered ghost. But you, I remind you, have yet to loosen your influence. Tinnitus, singing nightly, ill met, ill met. Now I'll read the poem that was in Best American Poetry, Hate. I hate you, truly, truly I do. Everything about me hates everything about you. The flick of my wrist hates you. The way I hold my pencil hates you. The sound made by my tiniest bones were they trapped in the jaws of a moray eel hates you. Each corpus singing in its capillary hates you. Look out, for I hate you. The blue-green jewel of succulent I'm digging from under my third toenail left foot hates you. The history of this keychain hates you. My sigh in the background as you explain relational databases hates you. The goldfish of my genius hates you. My aorta hates you. Also my ancestors. A closed window is both a closed window and an obvious symbol of how I hate you. My voice curt as a hair shirt, hate. My hesitation when you would invite me for a drive, hate. My pleasant good morning, hate. You know how when I'm sleepy I nuzzle my head under your arms, hate. The lights of my eyes, target eyes, articulate hate. My wit practices it. My breasts relaxing in their holster from morning to night hate you. Layers of hate, a parfait. Hours after our latest round, brandishing the sharp glee of hate, I dissect you cell by cell so that I might hate each one individually and at leisure. My lungs, duplicitous twins, expand with the utter validity of my hate, which can never have enough of you, breathlessly, like two idealists in a broken submarine.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard some wonderful poems tonight, and I hope you will give a round of applause to our poets. Thank you, poets. Thank you, Tim, Jason, Greg, Marilyn.
All the poets back on stage. Every poet who read it on stage. We do a group photo.
Everyone get on stage and
All the poets.
take your clothes off. That's the idea. And now we will all sing a chorus.
Shorter people in front. You guys decide. Shorter people in front, taller in back.
We're going to sing a chorus now.
Christina, our hostess. Everybody. This is where the photographers are in their mind. They shot everybody's together. Christina, get in here. Come on.
Christina, get in here.
Everything about it is appealing. Everything the traffic will. Nowhere can you get that.
Guys, take a few of these, okay? The Yankees just scored last night.
Yeah, they did. The Yankees did. I picked up from that. They did on top table that
The turkey that you know might be stranded out in the cold. Still you wouldn't trade it for a sack of gold. Let's go on.